It's your boy, Paulus Harris, aka the Crazy Hawk. Hey, guess what? This your first time tuning in. Go ahead, hit doggone subscribe button, hit notification bell every time I post some new content. Well, it seems to me that it seems to be YouTube really didn't like my last show that I did yesterday because I actually basically what I do, right? I'll do a show or what have you. And then I will actually really go back and review my own shit, which I'm pretty sure uh, most YouTube content creators, if not all of us, will actually really go back and look at what we just created, right? And actually really be like, okay, am I actually really good on what the hell I just said? Or do I actually really need to go back and actually really change what I said? Me, on the other hand, right, I just like listening and put it like this. Me, on the other hand, I like listening to my voice and I really like looking at my most handsome face, which I'm not gonna sit up here and clown everybody, right? But when you're as confident as me, you think that for the most part that you put out the best content and you are also the best looking when you put out your content. My goal here is to actually really be YouTube's most famous uncle. Really ain't too fucked up about what Shannon Sharp does, what he do, right? Because I just look at it and in some cases he's part of the motherfucking industry as well. Yes, taste the beverage as usual. So, um, if you really paying attention to the title, you already know that the crazy uncle's actually really finna get into some shit, right? I'm gonna try not to be long-winded about this, but when I actually really tell y'all what the fuck is actually really going on, then just know if I take this shit past 20 minutes, then yeah. It's only because I actually really want to get out what I need to say. Now, for the most part, a lot of y'all probably already know the the most diabolical plan ever created, in which I didn't put that on there, but y'all actually already know what the hell I'm going with this. But with the government shutdown, in which for the most part, you can actually really look at it as day 30 or day 31, depending on how the hell you want to count this shit, right? But let's actually really stop and actually really take this in. Let's take this and actually really put this in perspective. While most YouTube content creators are actually really putting out what the hell is going on and what we all feel what's gonna come tomorrow, which is Saturday, and for the most part, it would mean All Saints Day. But when you actually really look at the word Saturday and what the name Saturday actually really comes from, then you actually really understand why I'm calling this the most diabolical plan ever. And if you actually really stop and think about this for a minute, you would almost actually really stop and think, that this shit was actually really planned out many years ago, right? So let's actually go back, and we're gonna turn back the hands of time, if you will, and then we're gonna actually really bring this shit, up forward. For most of the for the most of the content creators out there, right? You know, they'll actually really come out and tell you, okay, well, hey, this, that, and the third. They'll be like, okay, you know, women for all of a sudden, right, actually really become independent, saying that, hey, look, we don't need no man, men ain't shit, this, that, and the third, right? But they actually really never tell you why women actually really took on this motherfucking attitude, right? And all of my years actually really being on YouTube, and for all of the years that I've actually really watched and listened to other people's content, as far as like this whole uh, man versus woman type deal, even Kevin Samuels, you know, he had the shit wrong, because it's just for the simple fact, right, that he never actually really gave you the source of the problem. Well, the crazy uncle, and which I know I've said this once before, but as any good teacher, you either call me a teacher or a professor, whatever the hell it is that you actually really want to call the crazy uncle, right? I'm finna tell y'all why all of this shit actually really has taken place. They got this thing what they call the Holy Bible, right? And then for those of us that have actually really looked, took this book and read it word for word, right? A lot of y'all actually really don't know how to read it, right? Because if you were just actually really just read it all the way through, right? 9 times out of 10, you really not gonna understand what the fuck is actually really talking about. It acts like really jumps. It's where like, okay, well, hey, look, you can read it all the way through. And then if it don't make sense, then you actually really got to go back and start at certain points and be like, okay, hey, I'm gonna hold this right here. And just because I read this over here, then all of it actually really makes sense. It's almost like when you have the cards or whatever, and then they all face down. And so for the most part, right, you flip a card over. Now you gotta guess what card is actually really gonna match this card. So with that being said, let's look at the situation that's going on now. The government is in a shutdown because two motherfuckers actually really can't get their goddamn act together for whatever reason. They can't get their goddamn act together. So I'm gonna tell you why they can't get their act together. And for the most part, now whether or not you actually really believe the Bible, then hey, that's on you. But way back in the day, Yahweh created man, gave him all this land, right? But Yahweh knew that he couldn't handle that man couldn't handle it all by himself. So he put man to sleep, took a rib, created a woman. And so basically what happens, Adam wakes up, see this beautiful woman. Now mind you, right? He already know what the hell Yahweh done told him. Hey, all this is yours. I just need for you to tend to it. And since that I know that you can't tend to all this by yourself, I'm gonna give you a helpmeet, right? And so he brought them all together. He brought both of them together, right? See, look, all this you can have, but don't fuck with that tree over there, because that's the tree, the so-called tree of knowledge and evil. And guess who the fuck went over there first? Eve did. And then you also got to ask yourself, okay, well, what? caused Eve to go over there in the first place. Satan, Lucifer, the devil, whatever the fuck you actually want to call him, right? 9 times out of 10, he probably looked a hell of a lot better than what Adam did. And so he was like, why are you not eating that tree over there? Well, because Adam told me not to eat from that tree, right? And so he was like, okay, well, how come? Well, who told Adam, right? And then she said, and so basically what happens, and so from this point on, right, this is where the fuck greed comes in at, right? So Lucifer, whatever, said, go on and eat, go on, take your bite, right? So she bit. See, then shit happened, right? And then once she was confident that did nothing happen to her, guess who the hell she went and go? Guess who the fuck she went and told? She went and told Adam. Then Adam being the type of person that he is, because he loved Eve that much. Now, you can call it simping or what the fuck you want, right? But guess what the fuck Adam did? He bit. And so Yahweh saw that. And then this is when, and then at this point of the juncture, this is when they both realized they were both naked. And so then they started covering up themselves, right? And so here come Yahweh say, why y'all, what's going on here, right? Well, we naked. Well, who said that you was naked? Right? And so basically what the hell happened was, and so Yahweh said, you know what? Since you think that you naked, and since you disobeyed what the hell I told you, y'all gotta get out. And you gotta work now. Right? Never said anything about Eve working. So as time progressed, right? With the Tower Bible, blah, 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 and all that kind of stuff. But we gonna fast forward all the way to what the hell did they call slavery, right? And then if you want to actually really believe that slavery happened, then guess what? That's on you. But I have to ask the question. Explain the goddamn boat ride from Africa to here, right? Most of us was already here, but that's another story. So-called slavery happens. Then in 1864, what happened? President Lincoln did what the fuck he did, but it didn't actually really get around to everybody until 1865. So at this point in the juncture, everybody that was a slave or so-called slave are now indeed free. You can do whatever the fuck you want, right? But then considering that you was actually really under somebody's supervision, now you actually really don't need you don't know what the fuck to do, right? And for the most part, you've been used to getting your ass whooped. So now you out there, you ain't getting your ass whooped in a sense, but you still don't know what the fuck to do, right? Because why? Because you was under somebody's supervision. So from 1864 to now, 1939, right? Which you go and go look it up because I just did. That was when the first so-called government assistance, aka food stamps, actually really came into play. Right? But it was stipulations behind this shit. Right? Man and woman couldn't be, you can't be in the same household. Right? Because whenever the fuck that shit happens, then you as the woman, right? Then you actually really you can't get these benefits. So then as time even progressed, We're gonna go a little bit further. We're gonna go back to 1964, right? When it was actually really implemented. And that was the goddamn rule, right? The man, for whatever reason, couldn't be in the house, right? But at the same time, the woman can have all these goddamn kids. And at the time, right, yes, the United States government was giving you money. But was it really enough? Right? And then if you actually really don't believe it, then hey, look, let's go. There's plenty of documentaries on this shit, right? Let's go and look, just go and look at it for yourself. Right? And so from 1964 on, and then for the most part, guess what else happened in the 1960s? Women's liberation. And what was the saying back then? Whatever you can do, I can do better. Right? So this is when all of this independent, yep, exactly. Had to stay in the house there, big bro. They had to stay in the house. Right? Because how else would they gonna get their money? Regardless of how small it was, right? But then over the course of time, right, inflation happens, right? And then depending on if you was actually really on this program, right, you had to actually really get the money from somewhere. You had to have a boyfriend on the side, right? God forbid if your ass was married, right? Because they're gonna look at the simple fact that, okay, hey, guess what? You got a man in the house. So you don't need to be on food stamps because what is the man's number one priority? Provide for the family, right? So if I'm on food stamps, and especially if the job that he have really ain't bringing in the money that is actually really going to cover everything, right? Then what the fuck you actually really think is going to happen? He got to get his ass out. So in the 60s, food stamps happen. Women liberation happens. And then so the man, he got to get his ass out, right? And so for the most part, let's fast forward this shit to, I'm not going to actually really bring it to this time frame, right? But if you actually really been following me up until this point, you already know that what the end result is. The end result right now is the government shutdown due to motherfuckers actually really coming in from other countries, coming in, getting benefits that we supposed to have. It's almost like what that one song is, right? Living in the land of milk and honey. So give me my money, money, money. Right? So when you look at that, the 60s go by, this is what's happening. The 70s goes by, this is what the fuck is happening. Right? And then somewhere down the line, the woman said, you know what? Enough of this. I want to get out and start working. Right? So now they want to learn. Right? And they doing, and so the whole deal is about food stamps. It's what I've actually already said in previous shows. Right? It was government assistance, meaning get your ass out and work. Right? But the whole concept was, in a sense, it was still fucked up because they didn't want the man to be in the house in the first place. Okay? But at the same time, if you as a woman, if you knew that this wasn't enough, then you had to work. You had to work, right? But for whatever reason, right? Whether it was misinterpreted wrong, or this was actually the actual rule, right? The man, for whatever reason, couldn't be in the house, right? So this where this whole, oh, I'm a woman, I'm independent, I can do just as good as you, if not better, comes about, right? See, it's always a point of origin of every goddamn thing. I don't give a fuck what it is. But a lot of these YouTube content creators, they don't tell you what the fuck that the crazy uncle is telling you right now. They're just focused on the motherfucking right now. I don't want to hear about the right now. Tell me what the fuck caused this shit to happen in the first place. Right? So let's actually really just stop and think about this for a minute. Right? This is, and for the most part, I really have no problem for a woman to be independent. If you feel like that you smart enough to go out and get yours, then yeah, go ahead and get yours. But that don't mean suck dick in the process, which a lot of you motherfuckers are doing, right? Whether you got a job or not. A lot of you motherfuckers out here sucking dick for pork chops. Whether the motherfucker is actually really giving it to you or he giving you money so you can actually really go out and buy it. Either way it goes, you still sucking dick for pork chops, right? So let's fast forward it to October 31st, 2025. Halloween, that they call it, right? Or All Hallows Eve. I did a show like this a couple of weeks back. And then for the most part, apparently everybody didn't get it because I only got 3 views out of it, right? But if you pay attention to what the hell I just told you earlier in this video, right? This is Halloween, the last day of October. All Hallows Eve, as they call it. Tomorrow, Saturday, All Saints Day. But is it really? Is it really going to be All Saints Day? Knowing the origins of the day Saturday come from? All of this shit, what they say is going to happen. And I'm talking about the people that's acts like with the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kids, right? And 9 times out of 10, they got a daddy for each child, which for the most part means, hey, guess what? That's community pussy. Like what I told y'all yesterday. And YouTube, for the most part, won't act like really wanna act like really rate my shit. Right? I guess they saying that what the hell did I said yesterday was X-rated. Which for the most part, hey, guess what? I'm the crazy uncle. That's what the fuck the crazy uncle does. Sometimes you have to get a little nasty with this shit. Okay? So for the most part, for the most part, hey, you know what? I hear you, big bro, but sometimes, sometimes, right? You got to be this way because you and I both know that this is the case. You and I both have seen this. We have witnessed this. We see it on an everyday, constant basis, right? I don't mean to be too hard, but I'm like what Sister Soldier said. Hey, guess what? If the truth hurts, you'll be in pain. If the truth drives you crazy, you'll be insane. But but at the same time, though, right? I look at all this. I look at all this and I see all this, right? And then when you put all of this stuff together, then you will actually really know why I call this. And then I meant to say the most diabolical plan ever created, right? When you actually really stop and think about it, it truly It truly is. They really got us actually really thinking that money actually really has some meaning behind it. But money, just like anything else, is just like a motherfucking contract. If you don't read the motherfucking fine print, right, you're gonna get took each and every time, right? Just go back, just take out a dollar bill, $5 bill, whatever the hell that you got in your wallet right now, and read what's either in the upper left or the bottom right, right? Because anything after August 15, 1971, the American dollar ain't been worth shit. Plain and simple. And I can't tell you how many times that I've actually put that out there to everybody. So when you actually really stop and look at the government shutdown, is it really a shutdown? Because the motherfuckers is actually really responsible for this. Guess what? They still getting paid. They either still getting paid or they got enough money about themselves, right? That you know what? They can weather the storm. And then whenever these motherfuckers actually really decide that, okay, hey, this is enough, go ahead, sign the bill, whatever. And then everybody go ahead, they get their money. But see, but here's the deal. Man, and this is why another reason why I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is fucked up. Right? Now you gotta actually really stop and think about, okay, well, how are we actually really gonna compensate these people? Are we gonna give these people back pay? Right? Because while the government was shut down, right? Everybody that actually really so-called makes the laws, the people that y'all put in office, right? They getting paid. It's almost like the game of Monopoly almost. You almost have to make sure you really got to pay attention on who the fuck the banker is. Because once the banker, whoever that may be, right? Once he or she realize that your ass ain't looking, guess what the fuck they doing? And then you wonder why these motherfuckers never, and then y'all wonder why these motherfuckers never go broke. Because they stealing money, even though it's bullshit. But they have to play the game as well in order for everybody else to be like, hey, guess what? I need that money too, even though it's bullshit. But they have to play it. They also have to play it. So for the most part, what the fuck are you really doing? Who are you actually really hurting when all this shit is all said and done? Who are you really hurting? Right? Now, for the most part, I know I actually really got off subject here, but for the most part, right? If you actually really stop and think about all of the stuff that I've said within the past 20 plus minutes, right? All of this shit has a point of origin, right? Let's actually really stop and think about this for a minute. Let's just say for shits and giggles, right, that Eve actually really would have paid motherfucking attention to Adam. Because even though today is Halloween, but if you actually really look at the technical term of what Halloween is, today is actually All Hallows Eve, the woman. And tomorrow is All Saints Day. And for the most part, out of all this motherfucking chaos that's going on, who the hell have you seen most bitching about motherfucking food stamps? The woman. Just putting it out there, people, right? But then you got, and then just like what I said yesterday, Everybody now hollering about, okay, here come all of the women talking about pussy sales are finna drop. And it's like what the hell I told y'all yesterday. I don't need no stressed out shit. But I'm married. I know better. And so for the most part, why the hell you think I called it the most diabolical plan ever created? Because unlike most of y'all, whether you read the Bible or not, the people that's in power, they have read that Bible backwards and forwards, upside down, every angle possible. They have a panoramic view of what the hell King James wrote. Or let's just say of what the hell King James edited. Okay? Let's be real about this, people. Right? You know, so for the most part, right, my thing is this. I could go on and on about this, right? But the thing about it though is this. Unless you can tell me how all this shit started, and I'm not here to call out anybody, but unless you can tell me how this shit started, right? Don't tell me a goddamn thing, because you don't know shit, right? And that's Kevin Samuels included. And that I don't know why motherfuckers want to call him the Godfather. A two-time divorcee, right? That means you fucked up twice, guy. Either you knew what the fuck was going on, or you couldn't handle the woman that was with you. Pick your poison, as they say. But you know what? I'm gonna tell you like what that one comedian said on Def Comedy Jam many years ago, right? You know, when Magic Johnson, before Michael Jordan came on the scene, right? One of the best to ever do it. Then he caught AIDS. Then he became a spokesman. And then this one comedian, he actually really just came out and said it. Hey, look, I gotta tell you something, folks. Motherfucker, the guy that can't tell me shit, right? Bring on Will Chamberlain. He clapped 22,000 cheeks and didn't catch shit. Okay? That's who the hell I want to listen to. Right? So motherfuck Kevin Samuels and anybody else that's a so-called relationships coach. Right? And then even more so, right? Anybody that actually really went on that motherfucker's channel, right? And you telling your business, you just as fucked up as he was, if not worse. Kendra G, anybody out there that's so-called a motherfucking relationships coach, right? Kill that shit. Y'all don't know shit. And for anybody that actually really think that these two motherfuckers know what the fuck they talking about, yeah, you deserve to get fucked over because you just put your shit out there. Right? If it's anybody that you need to ask questions, go to your goddamn parents. Oh, my bad. 9 times out of 10, when they had your ass, they didn't know nothing either. So again, let's go back to the source, people. Who actually really knew better? Who actually really knew better? Who actually really disobeyed? And who actually really fell through the cracks? That's what the fuck you need to do. That's what the hell you need to be asking. And asking why the motherfucking welfare program actually really came into play. A lot of motherfuckers actually really tell you it was due to slavery, right? But it's just like what I told y'all earlier. Explain the goddamn boat ride from Africa to here when you didn't know where the fuck you was going, or they didn't know where the fuck they was going. A lot of motherfuckers died at sea. So for the most part, you gotta actually really stop and think about, okay, well, who the hell was already over here? And then again, you almost got to ask yourself, see that somebody else came over here. Then there's the goddamn language barrier. Motherfucker, I don't understand you. So why the fuck would I sign my name on any goddamn thing? I'm just putting it out there. I ask questions. I have to ask questions. And the crazy uncle looking for y'all to ask the same goddamn questions. Right? How did this shit even come about? Not just here. What can we do to stop it? Well, for the most part, I can at least come up with one solution, right? For you young people out there, right? That wearing the pants hanging all off your ass, right? And for my beautiful sisters, right? Put some goddamn clothes on. Stop shaking your ass every goddamn where, because ain't nobody trying to smell your funky ass. Ain't nobody trying to smell your twerk air. Because guess what? If you ain't washed like how you should, guess what? We already know what the hell the club gonna smell like. And for my young brothers, here's one question that you might want to ask the young sister. Once you actually really feel like that you in there, ask her this one goddamn question. And if she answers wrong, leave that bitch alone. Just ask her, do you shower or take a bath? And if she says that she shower, leave that bitch alone. Because that just means she ain't soaked it. That shit gonna stink before she even pull the drawers down. Right? Protect yourselves, young brothers. And then for you young women out there, y'all need to do the exact same thing. Right? I'm not saying for y'all not to get together. And I'm not actually really saying that the other YouTube contents, the other YouTube creators are saying the exact same shit. But the thing about it though is this. Know who the fuck you getting involved with, right? Give her somebody that for the most part that you know that you can actually really build with, right? And then let the man actually really take his role as the man, the protector, the provider of your ass. Regardless of what the fuck that he's making at that particular time. Right? That man know what the fuck he doing. Right? You follow his goddamn lead. Shut the fuck up and color. Or just shut the fuck up and be quiet, because a lot of y'all don't know how to color within the lines. You don't know how to color within the lines of the motherfucking design. The game plan, the blueprint that he put out. A lot of y'all don't know how to do that. You, big bro, you look, you laugh, but you know you laughing, but you know I'm right. You know I'm right. That's why your ass laughing, right? But it is what it is, people. So, with that being said, Tell your mama, tell your daddy, tell big dad, tell big Bertha, your uncle, your auntie, your grandma, your papa. Motherfucker next door, cross the street, round the corner, Paulus Harris, aka Crazy Uncle. Don't you kill your ass out there talking about trick or treat. Because if you do, guess what? You just got tricked. And the treat is the motherfuckers that actually put this shit in play. Till next time.